welcome back students. This is the 14th class of NCERT Indian Polity for Foundation Batch Adharshila conducted by Center for Ambition, and this is the second part of the 5th chapter that we are completing now, which is the legislature. And in the previous video where I have talked about the first half of the chapter, I talked about the last thing I talked about the powers of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. We had a comparative study between both of them, and also I have told you some special powers of the Rajya Sabha as well. So if you could recall, I'll just recall the chapter briefly. So if you could recall, I have told you that we have organs of the government. Okay, we have organs of the government which are, we have three organs of the government. We have three pillars of the government, important pillars of the government on which the government is able to function. So the three pillars, the three organs of the government is legislature, the executive and the judiciary. Okay. In the legislature, I have told you the work of legislature, the primarily work of legislature is to make laws. Okay. The work of executive is to execute laws, or you could say to implement laws. Okay. The work of judiciary is to interpret laws. So it interprets the laws, it tells you the real meaning of the laws. Okay. Now talking about the executive, that we have already completed in our 4th chapter. We have discussed the executive part. Now coming on to the legislature, as I have told you that in India, when we have a parliamentary democracy, at the center of the country we have parliament. At the central level we have parliament, which is the national legislature. This is the national legislature of our country. Okay. At the center level we have parliament, and at the state level we have state assemblies. Okay. It could be legislative assemblies and legislative councils as well. Okay. Now coming on to the parliament, when I discussed parliament, I said that parliament of India is bicameral in nature. Which means that it consists of two houses. Okay. The parliament consists of two houses. That is why it is bicameral. The two houses of the parliament are Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. The Lok Sabha is the lower house or house of people, and the Rajya Sabha is the upper house or council of state. So I think you can recall it now. The Lok Sabha is also directly elected by the people and hence have more power. For example, it has more power than Rajya Sabha on matters like financial. For example, it can initiate money bills. Okay? It can initiate money bills. And talking about the Rajya Sabha, as I told you that members of state legislative assemblies elect the people that has to sit in the Rajya Sabha. So Rajya Sabha is an indirectly elected body. It is indirectly elected and hence have limited powers then comparatively to the Lok Sabha. Okay. Rajya Sabha is also the permanent house, which means that it never dissolves. The 1/3 member of the people of Rajya Sabha vacate their seats after completion of the 6 years term in every 2 years. And we have fresh elections for the 1/3 seats that are vacated. In terms of Lok Sabha has a period of 5 years, and it is the maximum period which the Lok Sabha can have, which is 5 years. It can be dissolved before completion of the term also. So this is the crux of whatever I have told you in the previous video. And moving on to the today's topic. So we see that how does the parliament make laws. So when I told you about the parliament, when I told you about the functions of parliament, I said that the parliament has two functions. First is to make laws. Okay, as it is a legislature, so the first primarily function is to make law. The second is that it holds the representatives accountable. Okay, so it holds the representatives of the people accountable. So the question is that the primary function of the parliament, which is to make laws, now we need to understand that how a law is made by the parliament. So we see the diagram here which is given in the NCERT. Okay, we see here that first bill is there. Okay, what is a bill? Bill is a draft of the proposed law. Okay, so whatever the law has to be made, a draft is made first. Okay, which tells how the law is made. Okay, so there is a draft of the law first, which is known as the bill. So the introduction of the bill can be there in either house of the parliament, and in case of non-money bill. Okay, so non-money bill can only the non-money bills can be introduced in either house of the parliament. In case of the money bill, as I have told you, in case of the money bill, the Lok Sabha have more powers, so the money bill can only be initiated in the Lok Sabha. So a bill can be introduced in either house of the parliament, and then it is sent to the committee or discussed in the house itself. So either it is sent to the committee where the bill is discussed on a large extent, or it can be discussed in the house itself. Then the committee, in whichever the bill is given for the discussion, it gives out a report, and the house then may or may not accept it. Okay, a detailed discussion of the bill happens in the house. So there is a deliberate discussion on the bill in the house that we see. Okay, next, the bill is accepted or rejected. So the bill is either accepted after discussing the provisions of it, after discussing the impact of it, the bill is accepted or rejected. Then the bill is sent to the other house. Okay, so once it is, suppose it is introduced in the Lok Sabha, and then it is given to a committee where the discussion of the bill goes on. Then the committee gives a report to the house. Okay, then there is a further discussion on the bill itself, and it can be either accepted or rejected. And then when the bill is accepted, for instance, it is sent to the next house. For example, it is introduced in the Lok Sabha, so it will be sent into the Rajya Sabha. Then the other house also approves or gives recommendations. So the Rajya Sabha can approve it, or either can give suggestions or recommendations to the Lok Sabha to amend it. Okay, in case there is a disagreement, a disagreement, we have a joint session of parliament, which I'll tell you a little further in this chapter. Okay, then after it approves, in case it is approved by the other house, okay, the bill is sent to the president, and president thereafter he might approve the bill, or he can send back the bill for reconsideration. Okay, and if the president approves the bill, so it means that the president have given his assent to the bill, and the bill becomes a law. Okay, we'll understand here. For example, a bill which is a non-money bill, okay, I'm talking about non-money bills. So a bill which is a non-money bill is a draft of the proposed law. Okay, whatever the law has to be made, a draft is first made, which is known as the bill. So bill is a draft. Okay, it is introduced. It can be introduced in either house of the parliament, for example, Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha. So it can be introduced in Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha. Once the bill is introduced, then it goes to a committee for discussion. The committee then gives a report on the discussion, what was the conclusion of the discussion. Okay. Then this report further goes to the house in which the bill was introduced. For example, it is introduced in the Lok Sabha. So the Lok Sabha will further discuss the bill. It will be deliberately discussed. The deliberate discussion will be held in the house. Okay, after the deliberate discussion, it will move to the other house. Okay, the house can accept or reject whatever the discussions, whatever the improvements they have made. So if the bill is approved, then it is sent to the other house. Okay, so other house is Rajya Sabha. Okay, for example, we are taking an example that the bill is introduced in the Lok Sabha, then it goes to the Rajya Sabha, and Rajya Sabha then can approve it or can give recommendation in case of it suggests some recommendation that it has to be improved. So either it can give recommendation or it can pass it. Okay, in case there is a disagreement, in case the Rajya Sabha doesn't approves it, there is a joint parliamentary meeting, okay, that we'll read later, okay. In case Rajya Sabha approves it, then the bill goes to the president, where president also either can approve the bill or can send it back for the recommendation. Either it can approve, either it can send it back to the house itself for some recommendation for some amendments, okay. If the president approves the bill, in case of the approval of the bill, the president gives the bill its assent and the bill becomes a law. The bill becomes finally a law. I hope it's clear. Okay. I hope it's clear now. Now, as we have read that bill is a draft proposed, bill is a draft of the proposed law, and it could be of different types. Okay, bill could be of different types. What are the types of bill? It can be government bill, it can be private members bill, it could be non-money bill, and which is like it can be ordinary and constitutional amendment bill. Okay, so in the non-money bill we have two types, which is ordinary bill and constitutional amendment bill, and the fourth type is money bill. Okay, let me tell you. So we have four kind of bill. Okay, we have four kind of bill. Bill is a draft of the proposed law. Okay, so we have four types of bill. First is government bill, then we have private members bill, then we have non-money bill, and then we have money bill. Okay, and in case of non-money bill we have two bills, which is ordinary bill and constitutional amendment bill. Okay. So what are government bills? Government bills are those bill which is introduced, which is proposed by a minister of the government. Okay, it is proposed by a minister of the government. Private member bill is introduced by a member of parliament who is not a minister, but he is a member of the parliament. Okay. Then we have non-money bills, which is ordinary and constitutional amendment bill, and we have money bill. Okay, we'll see here. See, a non-minister proposes a bill. It is called a private members bill, and a bill proposed by the minister described is as a money bill. Okay, now when the bill is introduced in the house, there is a lot of discussion about why the bill should be proposed, why should we introduce this law, why should we introduce a bill which has some policies. So there are more functions to it. We have more functions to the parliament. It is not merely a law making body, it also has a course of political action as well. How I can say that? Because when I talk about parliament, when a bill is introduced, a lot of discussion is held. A lot of discussion we can see is held on the introduction of bill, that why do we need the bill, what will be the impact of the bill on the people, and what will be the implications of it to the people. Is it really necessary to bring a bill like that? Or the other could be, do we have the resources, do we have enough or required resources to implement the law that we want to bring it. Okay, so there are more discussions, there are very discussions on even bringing of the bill in the house. Okay, when the bill has the support, when the people of the parliament believes that a bill should come, a law should come like that for a particular matter. For example, there is a matter that the marriageable age of girls should be exceeded from 18 to 21. Okay, for example, this is the cause, and we want a law to come which will increase the marriageable age of girls from 18 to 21. So we need a law on that. Okay, now this law, this bill, first have a discussion in the parliament that why do we need it, what will be the implications of it, how will impact the society, okay, and do we have the resources to implement these kind of bill. Okay, after having the discussion of it, after having the proper thorough discussion of it, and if the parliament supports it, if the parliament has majority of it, then it can be made as a law. It can be given to the required committee. For example, this is a bill of marriageable age of 18 to 21. This bill will further go to the committee. For example, the committee and the ministry would be women and child empowerment. Okay, so this bill will go to the Ministry of Women and Child Empowerment. It will have a discussion of the entire bill. Okay, then the report will be given and the report will be sent to the house. There will be discussion on the bill and it could be accepted or rejected, and if in case it is accepted, it will go to the Rajya Sabha, for example, and the other house will also accept it or either give recommendation, or in case of disagreement, a joint sitting will be held in the parliament. Then what will happen, that it will go to the president in case the other house approves it. The president also, if it approves it, it will give assent to it, and this will become the law. Okay, now we see that a large part of the discussion on the bill takes place in the committees. Okay, so we see that the committee discuss a lot about the bill. It discusses about the every part of the bill, and hence we call committees of the Indian Parliament as miniature legislature. Okay, for as they discuss a lot on the topic, as there is a deliberate discussions on the bill by the committees, so we call committees of Indian Parliament as miniature legislatures also. Okay, so this was the first stage where the discussion is held, and then the second stage is it goes to the parliament. The first stage is the introduction of the bill. The second stage is that it goes to the committees and the committees discuss over it, okay, and gives a report out of it. So this is the second stage of the law making process. Thirdly, we see that when the report is given to the house, okay, it either accepts it or rejects it. Okay, what does it mean? That the bill is voted upon. The bill is voted upon, that do we need the bill or what will be the implications of the bill. If it has a positive implication, it will be passed by the house and it will be given to the other house for the same procedure. The other house also have a voting on it, and then it will be given to the president, and the president, if it approves it, he will give his assent to it. Okay, a bill has to be passed by both the houses for the enactment, and if there is a disagreement, then the two houses if there is a disagreement between the two houses on the proposed bill, the attempt is made to resolve through a joint session of parliament. So in case there is a disagreement of the bill, so there will be a joint session in the parliament. Okay, joint session of parliament in which both the houses, the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha, sits together and discusses about the bill completely. And in case of disagreement, in case there is no resolution that is coming out of it, if the matter is not being able to resolve, okay, then we take the opinions of Lok Sabha is considered into the favor. Okay, the opinion of Lok Sabha will be taken. Okay, in case there is no resolution coming out of it, then the favor goes in the hands of Lok Sabha, and whatever they say, whatever the Lok Sabha says, it will happen like that. Okay, for instance, if there is a deadlock, if there is no solution coming out of it, if there is no solution that we can see, if there is a deadlock, if there is a complete deadlock, then the decision has always gone in the favor of Lok Sabha. Okay, why Lok Sabha? Because I have told you that it is directly elected by the people and it has hence more power to the Rajya Sabha. So whatever the decision, in case of there is a deadlock, the favor is always gonna be of the Lok Sabha. In case of money bill, we have talked this about the non-money bills. Okay, in case of a money bill, the Rajya Sabha has to either approve the bill or suggest changes, but it cannot reject the bill. So Rajya Sabha has no power in case of a money bill. It cannot initiate it, and it can only approve the bill or give some suggestions to it. And if it takes no action for within 14 days, if it takes no action within 14 days, the bill is deemed to have been passed. Okay, so we have a time limit here that is given to the Rajya Sabha, that if it does not act upon the bill within the 14 days, then the act is deemed to have been passed. Okay, the amendments, in case Rajya Sabha gives any suggestions to the Lok Sabha for amendment in the money bill, it can either be accepted or could be ignored by the Lok Sabha. Okay, so in case of money bill, we have seen that Rajya Sabha has no power. Okay, see Article 109, special procedure in respect of money bills. The money bill shall not be introduced in the Council of State, which is the Rajya Sabha. So it cannot be initiated in the Rajya Sabha. It will only be initiated in the Lok Sabha. Okay, so a bill is passed by both the houses and sent to the president for his assent, and the assent of the president results in the enactment of bill into a law. So a bill into a law, bill becomes a law when there is assent of the president, if the president approves it. Okay. Now when I was telling you about the parliament, as I have told you that parliament has two features, majorly two features. The parliament has majorly two features. First, to make laws, and secondly, it holds representatives accountable. Okay, so the parliament controls the executive, which means it holds the representatives accountable. Okay, so there are many ways in which parliament holds the representative accountable. It controls the executive in many ways. Okay, why do we need it? We need it because as we see that we have a majority of the party in the legislature. When we see the parliament, we see the ruling government should have the majority in the house, and if there is a majority in a house, we need to be very careful that the majority in a house does not turn into a cabinet dictatorship, and the cabinet, whatever the cabinet, if cabinet leads and whatever the parliament parliamentarians are there, they are just following it. So we do not want a case like that. So what is the answer to it? What is the solution of it? The parliament has to be vigilant about it. The parliament has to be actively present there, and they have to be very much keeping an eye on the regular and effective works of the executive. Okay, so the parliamentarians, the legislatures have to, the legislative people there in the parliament have to keep a check on the executive. Okay, so that the parliamentary democracy does not turn into a cabinet dictatorship. Okay, so the work of parliament here is very important. Why? Because the parliament has to be very vigilant and active. The parliament has to be very vigilant and active and has to keep a regular and effective check on the executive so that it does not misleads, it does not misuse the people. Okay, so what are the ways in which parliament can control the executive? The first feature we see, if we see that the parliamentarians have, is the feature of parliamentary privilege. Okay, the feature of parliamentary privilege is there. What does it mean? It means that whatever the legislature, whatever the parliamentarians say in the legislature against the executive, it cannot be challenged in the court. Okay, so this is a privilege of parliamentarians. Okay, so no action can be taken against a member whatever the member may have said in the legislature, this is known as the parliamentary privilege. The presiding officer of the legislature has the final power in deciding the matters of breach of privilege. So the presiding officer, the person who presides over the house, has the final authority in deciding if there is a breach of privilege or not. Okay. So there is one function by which the parliamentarians control the executive. They can say anything in the legislature which cannot be, the action cannot be taken upon. Okay, the purpose of such privilege is to enable the members of the legislature to represent the people and exercise effective control over the executive. So it is basically done for the effective control over the executive. Next, we see instruments of parliamentary control. So there are some instruments given to the parliament so that they can control the executive. Okay. For example, we have variety of devices. There are variety of things in which parliament can control the executive. The first is deliberation and discussion. The second is approval and refusal of laws. Then financial control and no confidence motion. Okay, coming on to the first one, which is deliberation and discussion. It means that whatever the policy, whatever the laws that the government is bringing on the desk, it will be discussed beforehand. Okay, so whatever the policy and whatever the directions of the policy that the government is giving, whatever the bills that are come into the house, it will be deliberately discussed about deliberately discussed on the bills. The control may also be exercised during the general discussions. Okay, so there could be a lot of questions asked to the government about why the bill was introduced in the house, why do we need this law. Okay, so there is a question hour in the parliament. When we see the sessions of parliament, when we read the parliament, okay, in the session of the parliament, the first period is of question hour. So in question hour, which is held every day during the sessions of the parliament, where ministers have to respond to the searching questions raised by the members. Okay, so the members of the parliament can raise questions to the government and the government has to answer the questions. Okay, it could be about anything. It could be about price rise, availability of food grains, atrocities of weaker sections of the society, riots, black marketing, etc. So whatever the social evils are there in the society, so the people, the member of the parliament can ask questions to the government in the question hour. And succeeding the question hour, we have 0 hour. Okay, that also is another period where the members could raise question, but in this case the ministers are not bound to reply. Okay, then we have half an hour discussion on matters of public importance. Then we have discussions on public importance. Okay, matters of public importance. And then we have a German motion. Okay, so these are some instruments that control the government. Okay, somewhat control the executives in the parliament. Okay, then coming on to the second instrument, second device that we have here is approval and ratification of the laws. So the parliamentary control is also exercised through its power of ratifications. What does it mean? It means that a bill can only become a law with the approval of the parliament, which means that it is not important that whatever the bill is there in the house, it will be directly passed. The bill has to have the majority of the parliament. So the approval of parliament is also important. The government has the support of the disciplined majority, may not find it difficult to get approval of the legislature. Such approvals, however, cannot be taken for granted. They are the products of intense bargaining and negotiations amongst the member of ruling party or coalition parties and even the government and the opposition. So what is the case here? It is that even if the bill is passed by the ruling party, it has to have a majority. Okay, and how the majority will be achieved in the parliament? It will be achieved by intense bargaining and negotiation between amongst the members of the parliament. So they could approve the laws as well and they could refuse the laws as well. So in case the member of parliament feels that the ruling government is bringing some law which is arbitrary in nature, so it can refuse it and it cannot give it it can withheld its majority. Okay, so the bill will not be approved. So it is in the hands of parliamentarians and how they can control the executive. The third function is financial control. Um, so, as mentioned earlier, the financial resources are in the hands of ruling party. The ruling party decides how the resources will be distributed, what will be the amount to which the programs, the schemes of the government will be needed. So, there is a budget or annual financial statements that is given by the government, which tells whatever the amount is required for specific schemes or programs that has to be implemented. So it gives a broad uh, presentation of the budget, which has to be approved by the parliament as well, which has to be approved by the government as well, which tells the allocation of funds in the different programs and schemes. Okay. The legislature may refuse to grant resources of the government. This seldom happens because the government ordinarily enjoys support of the majority in the parliamentary system. So it seldom happens that the government refuses it because the actual majority are in the hands of ruling party. So what we have CAG, which is Comptroller and Auditor General, and Public Accounts Committee. So we have Public Accounts Committee and we have CAG. What is the work of CAG? It audits the report of the government. It sees whatever the expenditure is done by the government is just or not. Okay, it sees that if the government has misspent something or overspent something, so the CAG or the Public Accounts Committee, they give a report of the workings of the government, and it tells that whatever the allocation of the funds that are spent by the government is just or not. Okay. uh, okay okay, fine. Then we have no confidence motion. The no confidence motion is that, as I told you, that the ruling government of the parliament should have a majority in the parliament. Okay, now when I say majority in the parliament, so to gain that majority, what does the party do? They form coalition government. All small parties come together and form one party, which is known as coalition government. So a party is formed through the coalition government. Okay, a party through coalition is formed, and now when the party is made, it has to uh, it has to ensure that there is majority in the parliament. Okay, the parliament has to ensure that the executive is accountable. uh, is the no confidence motion. Wait, the most powerful weapon that enables the parliament to ensure executive accountability is the no confidence motion. So what is no confidence motion? It is a weapon given to the parliamentarians to hold the executive accountable. How they will hold? As I told you, the party should have 50% plus majority in the parliament. So when the opposition feels like the majority of the party is not there, it can raise a no confidence motion where the party has to prove their majority in the parliament. Okay, so a no confidence motion can also be raised by the against the government by any opposition party. Okay, so these are some instruments that are given to the parliamentarians, okay, which in return can control the executive and which keeps a check on the executive, so that the executive do not become a dictator and does not blindly give arbitrary powers, does not blindly have arbitrary powers over the representatives of the people or representatives. So as long as the government has full support in the parliament, the government has a majority in the parliament, the power of the house to dismiss the government is fictional rather than real. Okay, so if the ruling party has the majority in the house, then dismissal of the party is very unreal. Okay, Now the parliament can effectively control the executive, because we have seen all the instruments that the parliamentarians have to control the executive. So parliament can effectively control the executive and ensure more responsive government. Okay, so it will ensure that the government is responsible and is responsive, okay, by having these controls over the government. It is however important for the it is however important for this purpose that there is adequate time at the disposal of the house, and the members are interested in the discussions and participate effectively, and there is willingness to compromise amongst the government and opposition. So these are some instruments, okay, you can read it, but these are some instruments which make sure that there is control over the executive. Okay. Okay. So next we have, what do the committees of parliament do? So as I have told you that committees in parliament are also known as miniature legislature, which means that when a bill is given to any committee, it discusses all the provisions in the bill, and there is a deliberate discussions onto it. Okay, it also sees day-to-day business of the house. And what do committees do? What is the main work of committees? They see that if the grants that the government has asked for, the implications of the law, is it just or not, if there is any corruption that is going on within the government. So the committees keeps a check on the government. Okay, uh, it sees other important functions. For example, they see the demand for grants made by various ministries, and they look into the expenditure incurred by various departments. So they investigate in the cases of corruption as well, and they investigate on the cases of expenditure that is incurred by the government. Okay, parliamentary committees perform such functions. Since 1983, India has developed a system of parliamentary standing committees. Okay, we have standing committees which look into the matter of the government. It sees that the government is having a expenditure which has already told by it in the budget, and if there is cases of corruption or not. So we have standing committees which supervise the work of various departments and their budget and their expenditure and the bills that come up in the house relating to the department. Okay, so it supervises all the work related to the expenditure and the corruption and the budget. Okay. Apart from the standing committees, the joint parliamentary committees have occupied a position of eminence in the country. Okay, so we have joint parliamentary committees also, which also have the purpose of discussing a bill. Okay, so the purpose of joint parliamentary committees has also a work of discussing bill. Okay, and the reason is same, the purpose is same, that it is investigating the matters of corruption or financial matters, financial irregularities, if case there is a mismatch of the grant of funds and the expenditure of funds. So there we have committees like this which supervises the work of the government and the bills that are related to the department. Okay. Next, we have, how do the parliament regulate itself? Okay, so now we have seen that parliament is not merely just a law-making body, but it also has some political course of action. It is backed by various political actions as well, which is walkout, protest, demonstrations, and cooperation concerns that we see in the parliament. So there is a lot of heated discussions that we see in the parliament, that the ministers usually walk out of the conversation. So parliament is not just a law making body, but it also has some political course of actions. Okay. Now parliament should be the activities of parliament should be carried out smoothly and with its dignity intact. The constitution has made certain provisions to ensure smooth conduct of business. Okay, the presiding officer of the legislature has the final authority in matters of regulating the business of the house. So the presiding officer, for example, in the Lok Sabha we have speaker. Okay, I think, the presiding officer of the Lok Sabha is the speaker, and the presiding officer of the Rajya Sabha is the chairman, okay, which is the vice president of India. Okay, so in case of day-to-day functioning, day-to-day business of the house, the presiding officer of the house is responsible to manage the business, to conduct the business of the house. One more way in which the presiding officer control the behavior of the members is, have you heard about anti-defection law? So what is anti-defection law? Anti-defection is, for example, a person has got a ticket from one party and has won the election, okay, and then after coming into the party, he changes the party, okay, okay. Now this is called defection, okay, this is called defection. When a person who gets a ticket from another party and gets into the election, and he won the election and he is now a successful party member, changes its party because of some cash rewards or some gifts that are given by the other party. The other party is persuading the person to get into their party, okay. So if the person changes its party after being elected in the party and he changes the party, this is known as defection. So this is a maltreatment that is done in the society. So what happens, that an anti-defection law is there which curbs some activities, curbs the activity like this, curbs the activity of defection, so that nothing fraud can be happen in the society, okay. So we'll read it here once, that uh, okay, okay, okay. There was an agreement among the parties that a legislator who is elected on party's ticket must be restricted from defecting to another party. So a person who is elected from another party gets into another party after the election, after he wins the elections, for any cash rewards or any gifts like that. So it is restricted from defecting into another party. So there was an amendment in the constitution, 52nd Amendment Act in 1985, which is known as Anti-Defection Amendment, and it was modified later. So first it came in 52nd Amendment in 1985, and then it was modified by 91st Amendment, and the presiding officer of the house now has full authority and final authority on seeking the defection cases, okay. What are the cases in which a person can be proved as defected? The person loses a membership of the house. Besides, such a person is also disqualified from holding any political office of ministership. Now, if a person is proved to be defected, if a person is proved to have defected from one party to another, then what would be the course of action? He can lose the membership of the house, and such person is also disqualified from holding any political office like any ministership. If he has, so he has to vacate his seat and he cannot be a minister after that, okay. What is a defection? A member remains absent in the house when asked by the party leadership and remain present or votes against the instruction of the party, or voluntarily leaves the membership of the party. It is deemed as defection. So the one case is that it voluntarily leaves the party. The second case is that if he goes against the instructions of the party, if he does not vote in the favor of the party, if he votes against the party, if he does not come into the meetings, then he can also be said that he is defecting. So this is known as defection. The first case is that when he gets into another party. The second case is that if he remains absent in the house when it is asked by the party, or to remain present or vote against the instructions of the party. If he goes against the party, then also there could be a case of defection. So the presiding officer of the house has the full and final authority in case of defection related matters. Okay, so we have completed the 5th chapter, which is the legislature. I hope you are very thorough with it. I hope you know the functions of parliament completely, and we'll be starting with the next chapter, which is the judiciary, in the next class. So see you soon, guys.